Okay, so hello and a warm welcome to all, and very sorry for this delay. It was a technical issue. I hope I am audible now, and I welcome you all to Research Circle. So today we are gathered here for an exclusive session on communication skills and interview skills. And to deliver this session, we have with us Dr. Ms. Ramdeep Mahal. She is working as an assistant professor at Maharishi Markandeshwar, deemed to be University Ambala. She has done
Mullana, Ambala.
Mullana Ambala, excuse me, Mullana Ambala. She has done 9 years of teaching experience. Earlier, she taught at Guru Nanak Girls College, Yamunanagar. She has done PhD under the guidance of Dr. Tanu Gupta, Head of English Department Chandigarh University. Her domain is Anglo American literature, and she has associated as editor of BRICS Journal of Educational Research, a multidisciplinary journal, also a member of my university library club known as Expressions. So without wasting much time, let me welcome Dr. Ramdeep Mahal. Please continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to give, external lecture on communication skills and interview skills. And thank you for giving a brief background. Yes, I'm working as an assistant professor at Maharishi Markandeshwar, deemed to be a university, and I'm teaching English. So basically, without any delay, I will start it. Communication plays a very important role in our lives, isn't it? So today I will discuss basic communication skills and interview skills. We know that we have a lot of problem in communicating with people. See, English is a universal language, isn't it? So don't you think that every university and every school should have English as the major subject? Do you agree with me? If do you think, please, you can type yes or no, and I can see it in the chat. Do you think that English should be given importance? Though no, I'm not against Hindi. Yes, Hindi is also a language, but English is also like yes, English is also, it plays a major part. Yes, I believe it plays a major part. So let me begin with the slideshow. See, for communicating, don't you think that listening, first of all, for communication, we need to listen to the other person. That is very important. Uh, Many of you, like I'm from North India, and listening to some people's accent, I could make out that they are from South India. Now, obviously, some of you, like I am a Punjabi, typical Punjabi, and some of you may be South Indian. So our major language will be, obviously, we will talk in English. So don't you think that we all, for communication, it's all, it should be, it should not be always about me. Me represents something like ego. It's not about me, it's also you. So like I have shared this screen with you. Listening, we should listen to what other is saying. We should not just talk about ourselves, we should let other people speak. That ensures, you can see next is showing friendliness, that ensures friendliness. And wherever the other person is from, whomsoever that person belongs, he should be minded. We should have open mindedness towards every person. And eventually we need to have feedback from that person. And in the end, it gives you confidence, and it gives the other person confidence also. So I believe non-verbal communication, we know communication is basically like talking, speaking. Verbal is when you don't talk. I think everybody is verbal. Non-verbal is basically use of gestures, use of signals, visual aids, non-verbal communication. Basically, traffic lights can be used as non-verbal communications. We can make out that we have to move our car without telling anyone through the traffic light. Now, let's discuss the different aspects of listening. For communication, I believe that listening is very important. So the way to improve your listening skill is to practice active listening. We have to listen to the other person a lot. This is, we have to make a very conscious effort to hear not only the words that other person is saying, but more importantly, the complete message being communicated. It's not just, just listen to the person. We have to completely listen what the other person is saying. And for that, we have to pay complete attention. And for paying complete attention, we have to be, avoid distractions. We have to avoid distractions. Don't you think so? Then he says, like from where I have borrowed, we should pay attention to what the others are saying. We should pay attention and acknowledge. We should recognize everything. We should speak loudly. We should look at the speaker directly. When we are talking, we should look at the speaker. We should put aside extra thoughts that in our mind. We should look at the person directly, and he's saying further in the next slide, you can see that don't try to rebut, don't try to speak in between, and don't try to be distracted by factors outside. Someone is talking, try to talk in a private place. You should, in short, we can say that you should give complete attention. And next, like, you can say that not just you have to show that you're listening. Basically, when you are listening to someone, you should also, I would rather say, look into the eyes of the person. Show that you are actually listening to someone. Use your body language and gestures, like we can use our hands while talking, and we should nod, we should move our head, and obviously we should smile and use positive facial expressions. Here it is written in front of the slide. It is written that use other facial expressions, should have positive facial expression. And we have to have a posture, proper posture. And when we are talking, we should encourage the speaker to use verbal comments, to use yes and mm-hmm. Next, he said provide feedback. Our personal filters like judgments and other whatever we are thinking, we should give a feedback. Don't you think so? Your role is to understand what is being said. This may require you to reflect on what is being said and to ask questions. Like, even if someone is talking negative, you have to provide a feedback. Even if your feedback is negative, you have to present it in a positive way. At least the person will feel comfortable. And reflect on what has been said by, you can use a term as what I'm hearing is, and sounds like you are saying, are great ways to reflect back. These are the phrases that we can use. And further, we can ask questions like, what do you mean when you say, is that what you mean? Like, we can use these terms in a positive way. Then at the end, when after talking, we can summarize the speaker's comment, whatever he said. We can again we can just say again what he said. We can replay it in a way. Next, defer judgment. We should not when the other person is talking, we should not interrupt. That's the basic manners. I think we should not interrupt what the other person is saying. Interrupting is a waste of time. It frustrates the speaker and limits full understanding of the message. We are not, we then, if we interrupt, nor you can understand the message, nor the other person can understand. So you should allow the speaker to finish each point. Don't interrupt with counter argument. Let the other person speak. Don't you think so? Let him speak, and then you let hear the other person, and then you can pass your own viewpoint. Respond appropriately. You should, of this point, don't you think that active listening plays a major part? Active listening plays a major part. It is used basically designed to encourage respect and understanding. It shows that shows respect and understanding. Obviously you are gaining information and perspective. You add nothing by attacking the speaker or otherwise putting her down. What the other person is saying, you have to gather the information. You should not attack the speaker. It presents you in a very negative way. Yeah, and other person will think about you in a very negative way. Be candid. Be candid means be casual. You should be open, you should be honest in your response. You should assert your opinions. Whatever you want to say openly. Say openly, be frank. Treat the other person in a way that you think they would want to be treated. Treat them casually. Treat them treat them very honestly, and be casual but be honest with them. That's what I feel. uh, what would what are your things? Can I see in the chat box, what do you think about whatever I said? Do you agree with me or not? Can I just see anybody's comments? Yes. What do you think? Whatever I just said and whatever I shared with you, what are your thinking? What do you feel about it? Can anybody see? I think it's taking a lot of time. That's okay. Okay. Let me just give me a minute. Yes. See in this slide, yes, somebody has responded. Okay, thank you, sir. Vidyut, sir. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so just look at this cartoon I came across. When we usually talk to dogs, obviously they just can understand our language and our tone. Okay, so here this person is saying, when we usually talk to dogs, okay, Ginger, I've had it. You stayed out of the garbage. Understand, Ginger, stay out of the garbage, or else. Only the dog Ginger can hear the name is Ginger, and he can understand, he or she can understand that the tone is negative. So obviously, in case of animals, communication can be different, but the animals, they can understand that whatever is being said, it's being said in a very negative way. Let me move on to the next slide. Yes. So many of us are teaching, and you must be aware to how to deal with students when you're teaching, how you should deal with students. So while dealing with students, we should attend to the speaker learner with an open, without speaking an agenda, except just to listen. We should listen to our students, whatever they are saying, whatever their thought is. Practice empathy skill with both verbal and non-verbal response. Instead of sympathy, we should empathize also. I think sympathy is not just enough. We should have empathy also, whether it's verbal or whether it's non-verbal. There should be a basic understanding. So summarize what you heard the learner saying, just whatever the student said. We should, take sort of jot down all the points. We should keep in mind whatever the student has said. We should ask, further he says that we should ask open-ended questions. Let Be open to the students. Ask whatever, let them ask you questions. Use body language. He says use body language and non-verbal cues that demonstrate a focus on the speaking learner. Body language says a lot. Further, we will be doing this further in our PPT also. And we should also be, not, it's not always that we have to be formal with the students. We can be informal, maybe after the school or after the college. It basically reflects to the students that you believe their thoughts and their feelings, and you understand what they're trying to say. We should also inquire about how learners connect to their learning, about their metacognitive strategies, what they are thinking, what strategies they have in their mind. Next, very important aspect. Can you tell me what have you understood while looking at this picture, body language? What is body language according to you? Can you tell me what is body language? Can you understand what is this body language here? I mean, I especially chose this picture. So let's see, what have you basically, what can you understand? The way the lady in the first lady is standing, the way she has crossed an leg, it shows that she's, not open to communication. And the way her stature shows that she's lying. And the second person standing in the with the goggles on, it shows maybe he's hiding something behind his eyes. Eyes say a lot. And the person with the folded arms, it shows that he has hostile attitude, he's insecure, maybe aggressive also. It shows, especially the person in the middle shows that he's a very negative person. And eventually the lady standing there, it shows that she's interested. Her body language shows a very positive image. Her body language shows that she's very positive. And last one shows the way he shows the person, it's considered very rude. When you have hands in your pocket, you're considered to be very rude. It may be either if you are senior to that person or maybe junior to the person. Talking to someone with the hands in your pocket, I consider it as very rude. And it shows that you just want to, you don't want to talk to the person, you just want to leave. Moving on to the next slide. Body language, basically it tells us, sorry, just give me a minute. It reveals our true feelings and it gives our message more impact. Before meeting a person, your body language says a lot about you. Don't you think so? It says a lot about you. Someone standing with folded arms, it reflects a negative persona. And someone smiling and with standing straight and just looking at you, it shows that person is ready to receive you. It shows that the person has a positive effect all around. Obviously, he says communication is made up of so much more than words. Non-verbal communication cues such as tone of voice, gestures, and posture, they all play a very important part. The way we stand, the tone of our voice, these are all features that play a very important role. They all play a very important role in our lives. Then he says non-verbal communication such as tones, non-verbal communication such as tone of voice, gestures, they play a very important part. These things, they play a very important part in our life. A simple example of body language is a relaxed facial. He says is a relaxed facial that breaks out into genuine smile with mouth upturned and eyes wrinkled. Equally, it can be a tilt of the head when you just, face expressions, your eyes show a lot and you nod your head. It says a lot about you. Even when we tilt our head, when we move it to one side, it can show that, we are thinking something. It shows that we are thinking something. It's very obvious. Then he says that body movements, hands, they can be used. They are it can also be taken care to avoid a defensive arm crossed posture. When a person is standing with the arms folded, it shows that the person is in a very defensive mood, ready to fight. He says negative body language. Now, this is negative body language. If someone's exhibiting one or more of the following negative behavior, they like to be disengaged, disinterested, or unhappy. These are the following expressions, he says, that show that the person is having a negative effect, like arms folded in front of the body, or a very serious expression, body turned away from you, the person is looking away from you, arms folded, and there is not, a very tense expression, or the person is, he shows not much expression, eyes downcast looking at you, and not, trying to talk to you much. This shows that the person is not interested. He or she may not like you. These things are basically like nail biting, locked ankles, rapid blinking, tapping, drumming fingers, fidgeting. These are negative aspects of body language. Basically, if you see nail biting, everybody does it, and it shows that you're very tensed, obviously. When you lock your ankles, and when you are sit with your crossed feet, your mind is somewhere else, you're basically tensed. When you keep, next he says rapid blinking, it shows that you are not sure about something. Tapping on the table, drumming your fingers, it is a sign of impatience, or you're getting bored. Fidgeting, you are scratching your ear, or scratching your nose, or playing with their hair, that you are not interested when the other person is talking to you. So body language, basically, for a good impression, says that it plays a big part in people's first impression. First impression is a very important part in our life. Don't you think so? Like they say, the first impression is the last impression. Don't you agree? Here are ways to appear trustworthy, engaged, confident, and calm. We should have an open posture, of course. Be relaxed, don't slouch. Everybody has the habit of slouching. You should stand straight and place your hands by your side. Avoid standing with your hands on your hips, as this can communicate aggression or desire to dominate. So we should have our hands on our sides, and we should like sit straight. Use a firm handshake. Doesn't mean that you have to, hold a person hand tightly, but it shows that you're confident and more friendly. Maintain good eye contact. Maintaining a good eye contact tells us that we can trust the other person, and the other person can easily trust us. Try to hold others' gaze for a few seconds at a time. This will show that you're sincere and engaged. But avoiding it turning into a staring contest. Don't just look at the person and start staring at the person. It shows the person might think, he might feel threatened. Avoid touching your face. If you do this while answering questions, it can be seen a sign of dishonesty. When basically it's a well-known fact that a person who is lying will not look at you directly, will not talk straight. And when you are talking, when you are telling the truth, then you talk, you don't have your eyes downcast, you just look straight at the person and you don't fidget. So touching the face shows that you are a dishonest person. Obviously, next he says, smile. Warm, sincere smiles are attractive, reassuring, and infectious. Of course, we should always, smile at a person. It shows that the other person has a sense of reassurance. Now, I have presented a slide in front of you. What do you think? I've presented a slide in front of you. So this shows, can you tell me what have you understood from it? Yes. Can anyone share it with me? What have you understood? Um, yes, somebody has written, but nowadays a lot of people speak simultaneously, just like a TV debate. How to handle that? Well, Mr. Vidyut, that's a very interesting question. Basically, I don't want to name certain people. They just want to, fight on the screen. Basically, journalism, obviously, it's been, shown in a very negative way. But on the TV screen, it's not even a debate, it's more like a fight. First you invite the person and then you shout at the person. Yes, facial expression says a lot. Yes, Mr. Aman, I completely agree. And Mr. Vidyut was saying that basically on the TV screen it's more like a fight, not like a debate. And obviously if I would invite you for a talk, and you would not be ready to join with me if you know that I'm readily going to insult you. So that is, people just want to say their point of view, and they just want to push it on the other people's face. So in that case I would rather say, if the other person is like that, if the other person behaves like that, you don't want to fall to the other person's level. So let the other person behave like that. We should not react the other like the other person is reacting. That shows his personality. I mean, why should we stoop to his level? I don't know if you agree with me or not, Mr. Vidyut. Yes, face expression says a lot. Okay, you can say you can say see many expressions here. I think it's clear to you. Moving on to the next slide. Excuse me, it's giving me some. Okay. Yes, yes, facial expression says a lot. We convey countless emotions without saying a word, and unlike some form of non-verbal communication, facial expressions are universal. They are for sadness, anger, happiness, surprise, fear, and disgust are the same across cultures. They say a lot. Gestures, like he says, are woven into the fabric of our daily lives. You may point, beckon, wave, or use your hands when arguing or speaking animatedly, often expressing yourself with gestures without thinking. Like the meaning, this something which I really came across. Okay, basically is a sign we made like hand. Okay, but in some other countries it is meant to be very offensive, and basically, and it is considered to be very vulgar. People may misinterpret. So we have to be very careful if we go to some other country and we use the sign with the hands, with the okay. We have to be very careful. So your gestures say a lot. Like we say that actions speak more than words. It's true. Don't you think that's true? Eye contact, we have to maintain an eye contact while talking. We have to look at the person, And he says eye contact is also important in maintaining the flow of conversation and for gauging the other person's interest and response. Like we did before, that while talking, eye contact also plays a very important part in body language. When you are looking at the person, you should maintain eye contact, but that doesn't mean that you have to make the other person uncomfortable by continuously staring at him or her. Touch, he says, we communicate a great deal through touch. Touching conveys a lot. Think about the very different messages given by a weak handshake. And if we just give a, you don't give a firm handshake, it's a weak handshake. It shows that, we cannot trust this person. A warm beer hug, hugging a person, or a patronized pat on the hip, or controlling grip on the exam. Sorry, this has been, for example, should have been cut. Space. Have you ever felt uncomfortable during conversation because the other person was standing too close and invading your space? I think every individual would like to have their own personal space. We all need our private space. And if someone stands too close to us, we feel, uncomfortable. We have to, every person needs their own personal space. I found this very interesting cartoon online. Here, a person is reading, working in an office. The tone of the letter is stern, almost threatening. But see here, he signs with a smiley face. So I think we may be all right. So the sign, the smiley face, he said the tone is stern, but in the end, he put a smiley face. He said that it's okay. Now, let's begin with interview skills. I came across this very funny cartoon online, and it was a mistake for Eric to wear a T-shirt to his job interview. We can say that the interviewer is actually a dog, and it was a bigger mistake to wear that particular T-shirt. He's on the T-shirt it's written "Bite Me." So coming to interviews, there are certain things that we have to keep in mind during interview. An interviewer may ask how you perceive his company's positions in his industry, who the firm competitors are. While taking the interviewer may ask that, what do you know about his company's position? What are the competent other companies? For this, try avoiding trying to go through a dozen different industries. So we should not go through other industries that are almost as similar to his. So clarify your selling points and the reason you want to job. So we for going for a job, we should try to sell our skills. Like, have an example of selling point prepared. I have good communication skills. For example, I persuaded entire group too. So the best thing obviously about a job is how to communicate, like we did in the beginning of this webinar, and the name of the webinar is communication skills and interview skills. Obviously, one has to have good communication skills. Anticipate the interviewer's concerns and reservations. There are always more candidates for positions than there are openings. So interviewers look for a way to screen people out. So the interviewer basically wants the best, and he will try to grill you. I think everybody has been through that. Grilling is a part of interview because he wants the best candidates. So try to put yourself in the shoes of the interview. Try to think why the interviewer might not want to hire you. Prepare for common interview questions. Every how to interview book has a list of more common interview questions. You might know how long those interviews are if there are many common questions. So we have to pick basically pick a list of questions that we may come across. Like, given your age and status, about to graduate, looking for a summer, then prepare your questions so you won't have to fumble for them during the actual interview. We should prepare a list of questions. So like we in the last we did that, we have to prepare a list of questions. Come to the interview with some intelligent questions for the interviewer that demonstrate the knowledge of the company. We need to have complete knowledge of the company for which we are applying. Interviews always ask if you have any question, and no matter, you should have one or two ready. If you say no, not really, he or she may conclude that you're not interested in the job or the company. So like you should have questions for yourself. If they ask in the end, like do you have any questions for us, if you say no, not really, that will, it will try to show that you're not interested in the job. If you're having a series of interviews with the same company, you can use some of your prepared questions with each other person you meet. What do you think is the best thing about working here? You can ask for this what kind of person would you most like to see fill this person. You can ask these questions. And in the end, like here he says, practice. It's best to come with a prepared with a mental answer to question, why should we hire you? This is the most common question asked during an interview. It's another challenge entirely to say it loud in a confident and convincing way. The first time you do it, you will sound garbled and confused. No matter how clear your thoughts you are in your own mind, do it in another 10 times and you'll sound a lot smoother and more articulate. Like they say, practice makes a man perfect. So we can practice in front of the mirror, or we can take ask our friend, or ask some our relative, that I shall speak in front of you, understand? But you shouldn't do your practice when you're on stage with the recruiter, of course. Rehearse before you go to the interview. We have to rehearse. The best way to rehearse, get two friends and practice interviewing each other in a round robin. One acts as an observer and the interviewer gets feedback from the observer and the interviewer. This is very interesting. He said you should try it 4 to 5 times. One person should act as an observer and one should be interviewer. Of course, you will be the interviewee, and you should practice it like that. Most importantly, dressing up for the interview. This plays a very important part in our lives. I think you can see from here, it's quite visible to you that how should one dress up for the interview. What not to wear in an interview. This is very interesting. Your goal in a job interview is to make a good first impression of how you dress is an important of how others perceive you. The way you dress is a very important part of an interview. He says you have to look best. And how should we do that? How should we look our best? How should we do that? We can do that by preparing dressing up in a very formal way. He says what not to wear: flip-flops and open-toed sandals. Obviously, we cannot just go in our flip-flop or chappal in India, we can say in India. Athletic shoes, tank top, or shirts with thin straps, shorts, I think that's very normal. Underwear that sticks out of from your clothing. Basically, men have this habit, but for the job, you cannot do that. Skirts or dresses that are too short for women. You can test this by standing and placing your arms straight down your sides. If the skirt of your hem of your skirt is shorter than the end of your fingers, you may want to choose a longer one. Shirt with no necklines that expose your belly. We should not be women should be, I think, very careful for an interview. Though like believing in feminism, people will say, that's not allowed. But for an interview, we should be careful. Perfume on cologne should not be very strong. Nobody likes that. While you should smell clean, some scents can be very irritating. They are very strong. In a small meeting room, smell can become distracting, which is actually very true. Let's be come and be clear with the types of interview. Today, types of interview, the most common is the traditional interview, which most of us face, that is face-to-face interview, or you may also call tradition interview. Basically, it is with one person, and he or she asks a series of questions, and then he or she will decide whether you are a good candidate for the job or not. Then phone interview is basically when the other person, when the interviewee is not here. A call is typically for a first round screening. Basically, it's part of a round. First, they will call you, and then they will ask for your qualifications. Then they will decide whether you can come for the interview or not. You'll want to prepare just as you would for an in-person interview. Matlab, the next part of the phone interview is the traditional interview, or what we call the face-to-face interview. Case interview. The case interview is basically when you are given a problem. Like here, how can big coal company double its growth? You're given a problem and you will have to solve it. Or a puzzle. How many tennis balls fit in a 747? While case interview one were once exclusively the domain of aspiring consultants. Basically, these type of interviews are the most tough ones. Puzzle interview. Google and other highly competitive companies have been known to ask puzzle questions like, how many people are using Facebook in San Francisco at 2:30 p.m. Very similar to case interview. This is like a puzzle. Seems random, but your interview wants to determine how quickly you can think on your feet. Basically, the interviewer wants to know how can you long will you take to answer this question. Panel interview, this one is also known to be a very tough one. There were several people will be sitting on a table, and they will be asking you a series of questions. He says, if you'll be reporting to several people or working with a team, it's not uncommon to meet with multiple interviews all at the same time. Sounds nice because you have to answer those tough questions. The questions will be like bullets. They will be coming across to you like bullets. Stress interview, we've heard of those interview where the candidate is mercilessly bullied by the potential employer. It can be like heckling also, basically what you see on the TV screen, basically in the news channels. So they can be actually very bad, and the other person can actually end up crying, or maybe running out of the room and withdrawing their application form from the safety or therapist couch. Okay, that might be taking a bit far, but interviews that deliberately put candidates in a stressful situation can be an excellent way of assessing who's right for you business and who isn't. Basically, the TV shows like roadies people watch, so this one can be more like that. They basically want to say how last you long. They test you, whether they test your patience. Behavioral interview psychologically began to creep in the recruitment process in the 1970s. And now behavioral interviews are increasingly commonplace. They are very common. It's not an exact science, but the essence of behavioral interview is to analyze the prospect's past performance. The past performance of an individual is seen in more specific situations you'd like to cover in a conversational style interview. Instead of simply asking how a candidate would deal with a set of circumstances, behavioral interviews tend to focus on past situations. that a candidate found themselves in. Basically, the interviewer will ask that there was how if you had a situation in the past, how did you handle it? That is to be seen. If there was a situation you went through in the past, how did you handle it? I've come across this. Now, this obviously shows that in an interview, a person is being too overconfident. Do you think this attitude is fine? Of course not. We should not sit, or body language says a lot. The person may be dressed nice, good, but his body language is not proper. Look at the way. Some things which we should avoid, being doing things at the interview. We should not be late. We should not ask about other applicants. Obviously, we should not know about salary. We should not smoke gum. Don't chew gum or eat other lifesavers, like something when we are hungry and then we eat something. We should not slouch. Obviously, we should not criticize previous employers. We should dress appropriately. We should not dominate the conversation. We should not invade the interviewer's physical space. We should not try to interview, try to get into the interviewer's personal life. Should we? We should not make excuse if we are late or any other rules. We should not tell about our personal information. Don't then he says, don't try to patronize the interview. Don't try to praise the person. Don't ramble, or try to we should not talk too much. Try to show that we have a lot of knowledge. Don't try to be what you're not. Don't try that shows that you are dishonest. Don't interrupt. Let's not make assumptions. We should not apologize. Let's not ask obvious inappropriate questions that, okay, what about the sick leave? You haven't got the job, you start asking about vacation or sick leave. Don't be aggressive. In short, he's trying, don't be assertive. Don't, that will show that you're very own. Let's not rely on other people's words or thoughts. You should not use other people's thought. Use your own thoughts. Use your own quotations. Well, these are the references where I borrowed the material from, and I think, I hope my PPT and whatever I told here, whatever everyone gathered, I hope it was useful. I would like to thank the organization of Research Circle. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the session. If anyone has any question, we
Yes,
do have
please.
you can ask. You can ask in the comment box, or you can just unmute yourself and ask directly. Okay, so I don't think any questions are there.
I think, yeah, yes, sir. I think in between Mr. Vidyut asked, so I answered him. Yes, sir.
There is the 4 to 5 minutes streaming gap between YouTube and Facebook. So the questions will be like coming in 5-7 minutes. So no problem. In every webinar, we ask the participant to put the question in the comment box, so that because this whole session will be available on a Research Circle YouTube channel. So if somebody has, or somebody want to watch in their comfort time, go to Research Circle YouTube channel and they can watch there.
I can answer there also. It's okay.
Yes. So okay. I think we are at the end of the today's session. It was a very nice and informative session. And thank you so much all the participants who were live from Research Circle app, from Facebook and from Zoom. And thank you so much, Doctor, for taking out the time.
You're welcome, sir.
Really hope and another exclusive session from
of course.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Take care,
Okay.
everybody.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.